listening to the Tim Teaches podcast. Montie, welcome, buddy.
Well, hey, thanks for having me, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining me. So you're down in Costa Rica this morning. You had a little bit, we had this scheduled for yesterday, but they had some women's bicycling going on over there.
Yes, it is the craziest, I guess, once a year, it's just big events, and they go all the way from down south up to the capital, San Jose. If you've ever traveled that route, it is dangerous and takes 4 hours in a car.
Yeah.
4 hours. And they're doing it on bicycles, man, and the mountains are.
Wow. And it's
all women. All the men do it also at a different time of year, but yesterday's or this weekend's event, the 3-day event, is nothing but women. And type of women they're all tiny. They're all little short and stuff. It was pretty cool to see them all go by. Thousands of them.
Wow. That's pretty entertaining. I've never heard about that. So obviously we've chatted a little bit in the past. We have some mutual experiences, but I really would like to get to know a little bit more about you and your experiences, how you wound up in Costa Rica, and just a little bit of background on yourself.
All right. What a life this has been, and every day is a blessing. I love life for sure, but it hasn't always, of course, been like that. Born and raised in Virginia, a little place called Berryville, Winchester, Virginia. And I got childhood, probably didn't get too much into that one, but I guess like most children, a year alone, growing up back in the 80s, and then raised a lot by my grandmother from the time I was 11 up until graduation. And then I was one of those guys that couldn't wait to get out of small town. So sign my name on the line, take the pledge. Yes. Born in domestic. Yes. Take me, please. Went into the military, and actually, thinking back on it now, it taught me a whole lot, the discipline and everything. I miss it, greatly miss the military, but I ended up in the 82nd Airborne. It was the greatest time, man. Have you ever jumped out of airplanes?
No.
You got to do it.
No.
You have not. You got to do it, brother. It is. It's amazing.
I've done paragliding, but I am terrified of heights, and I did paragliding solo for about a year, and it was the scariest thing I ever did. Every moment I was up there just shaking like a leaf, but I was rolling solo, jumping off mountains, and eventually I decided maybe this isn't for me, and I had a kid. So
I couldn't do that. I don't think I could stand on the side of a mountain and just jump off knowing that's all I'd got.
That was it.
With parachuting, once you're out of the plane, you go, and you look up, you're like, okay.
Yeah,
now all I got to do worry is about hitting the ground.
So were you 18 when you joined the military?
I was 17, actually. Nice. I did this lay entry program.
Yep.
Then less than 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I was off to boot camp, Fort Dix, New Jersey, trained to be aircraft armament on Apache and Cobra helicopters.
Nice.
And then straight on to the 82nd Airborne. As soon as Panama was finishing up, I was already a member of the 82nd Airborne.
Nice. Neat. Deployments?
Oh, yeah. Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm was the biggest one. And I was in country there for exactly as weird as it is, 10 months to the day. And that was the main deployment for me. When I got back, you meet a girl. This happens, and then life happens, and you have a couple of children. So I actually ended up getting out of the military from the pressure of being father. And I don't know if you were in there with children or not, but just the pressure of it. Okay. But I think I lasted maybe a year and a half, and I couldn't take it in the civilian world. Coming from military, coming from war, coming back and then trying to blend into the civilian world was tough. It wasn't tough to find a job because of the military training, but it was hard to maintain life. So I ended up going back in. My mind was still in the military. And I guess there was things I still need to learn there. So I ended up going back in. Total time in the military was like 7 years. And then
got out. So how did you get to Costa Rica, I guess, is the big question for me.
All right. So much happened in the military. I was injured on a night jump there. Long story short, when you're on the landing zone, the vehicles or anything that's on that landing zone is supposed to be lit up with hemlogs on all the corners, so you can see it when we're slipping down. And there just happened to be a Humvee that was not. And good old Monty found it coming down at night times. So my legs hit the left quarter panel of the Humvee and I banged. So this and all of this had to be reconstructed.
Oh man.
Yeah, I spent a couple weeks in the hospital there, the medical hospital in Bragg. They had to put metal rods in to stabilize the top of the jaw. And of course, they put temporary teeth and stuff like that. All of that was gone from the accident. And here it is. That was like 1991, 92. And here it was 2017. And they had still never fixed them, like permanently fixed them. I was on the VA non-stop because I wanted my stuff fixed. It was causing issues and everything. And it was a blown injury during active duty. And the VA was even giving me disability for that, okay? But they would never fix them. Never fix them. So I sought the civilian world, got some quotes, and they were between $40,000 and like $48,000 to do what's called an all-on-4, all-on-6 with the rods. And who loves that? I raised 6 kids and have a mortgage and car payment, and I don't have 40 grand laying around. I didn't have $4 grand kind of around. You know, dude. I was on Facebook one day and this link came up for a place called Dental Land, and it's in Costa Rica. I started following them. I started watching them for maybe 6 to 8 months. I watched, never talked to them at all. And then, you know who Conway Twitty is, right? His son, all of a sudden on this Facebook post, it's Conway Twitty's son on Dental Land. And it showed his before teeth and his after teeth. And that it happened in 10 days. All the stuff, there's no way this is real. It didn't happen in 10 days. For everything that your head says to yourself, my message from them, they need that happened. Long story of that one is I ended up, after 2 years of questioning these people, I really needed the surgical procedure done really bad. I got myself on the airplane, flew down here, and it was all true. Total cost to me, total cost was 14 grand.
Wow.
Total. And that's the airfare round trip, my accommodations, the whole procedure, everything, my food, everything that I needed during those 10 days. And they picked me up and drove me anywhere I wanted to go. And they got the procedure done in 7 days.
Wow.
That's how I've come to find Costa Rica. So I've been able to fly back and forth every year to Costa Rica. From the first time that plane door opened, you can feel the vibration of this country. It is so high. It's off the chart. And I fell in love with the vibration and the people, the culture, the weather. So when my youngest daughters, one went off to college, I've been telling my children, when it's all said and done, Dad's going to Costa Rica, man.
Nice.
I'm not staying here. I want to go to Costa Rica. It's my dream. And they all support me. And Sheila, he went to college. I put my house up on the market and it sold 3 days later. Here I am, man. I packed my bags. I came to Costa Rica. I think what I love the most is waking up here, man.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed and walking outside and just seeing it. I've never seen an ugly morning here, ever.
Yeah.
They're always beautiful.
Everybody's beautiful.
It is. That's right. Exactly, brother. And people you meet, but Costa Rica's beautiful. It's wonderful, and the spirituality of it.
I went in December, so I understand, man. Getting off that airplane in the airport, it's an incredible country. I went down there for a little bit different reasons. I went down there for a place we're both familiar with.
We'll call it
Our spot.
Yeah, we'll call it our spot. That's
So I went-
that up. So.
Yeah, we went to our spot, and that's a life-changing country and experience you can have there.
So you've been to our spot twice then?
Technically, I've been there 3 times. I went in December for a week, and our spot is a week-long retreat. We're going to leave the name out of it for now. So I went down there in December for my first ayahuasca experience. Yeah, incredible place that just, I don't even know where to begin with it. And I'd rather hear your story if you can touch on it a little bit.
Sure, sure. So you went in December and then, let's see, we were there, what, July?
Yep.
Wow. I don't know why I thought it was your first experience. It was great that week-long trip there with you and the 90-some other people, or however.
Yeah.
I think it was close to 90 people, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a big group.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So I went in December, my first experience down there. Had really no idea what I was getting into. I did a little bit of research, but no research in the world will let you know what you're about to experience, the medicine. And so I went down there. I'm a veteran, spent a year in Iraq. I did 10 years of law enforcement. I was a reserve deputy for a sheriff's department here in Oregon. Yeah. And so I had those two things. And then everybody has childhood stuff they deal with. And then I just had some really bad experiences. One particular really bad experience in law enforcement, which really sent me over the edge. And I had already been dealing with PTSD for, almost 20 years at that time. And that just sent me over the edge. And I was like, man, I jumped on medication and just tried to do all kinds of stuff to try to help myself. Yeah, nothing was working. And so my brother-in-law, he's part of this retreat we're talking about, our place. And he said, man, would you like to come down and do this ayahuasca experience? We're going down in December. I was like, I had heard about it on Joe Rogan, some other podcasts, and doing a little bit of research. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll give it a shot. I'll give anything a shot. But I went into it just terrified. There's probably a good reason for that, because it can be a terrifying experience, honestly. And it could be the most incredible healing thing you've ever done, all wrapped into the same trip. It's crazy. And so the first night, actually, not a lot happened that first night until the ceremony was over. And this is where I get this tattoo from. I don't know if you see it very well, but it's a UFO, and I got a praying mantis and a whole bunch of other jazz. This whole tattoo is all my first trip experience down there. I didn't have any tattoos, anything on this arm, really, starting in December. Wow. So, yeah.
So you come back and you get in full sleeves. So
it was
first trip.
It was that transformational, and I still got a whole nother week I got to add.
Where is our Tuesday going to go? Show me where our Tuesday.
My Tuesday. So, man, I haven't put Tuesday on me from my first week, because that was literal hell. It was hell, but I came out of that Tuesday going, boy, I don't think I could do another night of this, because it was Ooh, but I plugged through, and then it got wilder and wilder.
Now, was that your first Tuesday in December, or was it the Tuesday that we shared together?
So the Tuesday we shared together actually was incredible for me. I showed up there and I was terrified to do another Tuesday, because I knew what my first Tuesday was. I was literally terrified, because you can't really explain some of the stuff you see. Someday I'll get into it, but probably not today. But I went into it like, oh, please God, don't let me see the shit I saw last time. And it ended up being a wonderful night, wonderful experience. You sound crazy, but I was traveling into other dimensions with angels, and like the most incredible healing you could ever experience. So it was good. What about you? How'd you start out with your experience?
Let me rewind real quick. Thank you for your service to you, brother, in the military and as an officer. So I do appreciate you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Monday was great, but my first Tuesday was your Tuesday back in December. It was a dumpster fire. I learned a lot, and they teach you speak intentions into your medicine before you do it. And maybe I shouldn't have said the intention that I said looking back at it, but I'm glad I did, because it helped reveal. But I asked the medicine to show me the truth about my mom and my dad.
Oh, buddy.
Not to get too much into it. But she showed me, and I crashed. And I crashed. And I don't know if we can, are we now to mention other people that were there? No,
just first names.
Our friend Smokey.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
I ended up being in the Hammond with the light workers, when I say I crashed, I mean I crashed in the bathrooms there by the fireplace at our spot. I don't know how long I was in there, long enough for them to knock 4 or 5 times. And then you got to purge, you got to purge. But it was so much more than that to me. My body was here, but my mind was gone and in this movie of my life, but looking at it from the outside, not in part of it. I could see myself there in my life, like from up here, and my mom and my dad and all this shit that happened as a child was coming like really fast, and we just buckled down to my mom and my dad. But the light workers, and when I say workers, I literally mean plural. 3 of them got me out of the bathroom and carried me, man. My muscles were all contorted and twisted and locked up, and I couldn't move. And again, that's my body. My spirit wasn't here. But they put me in the hammocks out around there.
Yep.
And it just so happened that our great friend Smokey, right there, during his transformation.
Oh, good.
And that just elevated me. I was gone. Oh,
He's got some powerful energy, Smokey does.
Absolutely, dude. And amazing, beautiful energy. But I was there. Part of me was watching this transformation, even though you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard when you're 5 foot away and you're on the ground and he sounds like a damn snake. That added to my Tuesday. Like I said, those classes, they teach you to speak in the intention and to face the darkness. And I'm really happy for those classes because, and all the breath work that we did while we were there, and really doing what they taught us to do, the earth breath, to calm yourself down and then face the darkness. So the minute that I stopped fighting what the medicine was trying to show me, because I asked it to show me the truth, truth. And she's going to do exactly what you want her to do, and what you ask her to do, that intention. And she will beat you down until you give in.
Yes.
And that's what my Tuesday was. I kept fighting, not wanting to accept. But in order to forgive, you have to accept the truth.
Yep.
And she kept showing me, and I laid there for hours. Finally, I accepted it. I cried, and instantly calm came over me, and this coolness, and I forgave. And then I was able to forgive myself. It was so long. It went from cup 2 until the very end of that ceremony. I stayed out there in that hammock that whole time dealing with all of this. I grew the most. It was the scariest fucking night of my life. I'm seriously scared to death. You know that you're safe, but you don't know that you lean your body behind. And I remember riding the toilet. I was on the toilet that much, riding the toilet through the cosmos, man. I had a fucking blast. But yeah, Tuesday was rough. Wednesday, though, was the most beautiful night of my life. It was glorious.
That's amazing, man. Every night is so different. You never really know what you're going to get, and you can't plan for it. It's like you go in with your intentions. And on my first trip out there, I made a very poor decision. My first 3 days, I had learned a lot. I'd gotten all the healing I would ever need in my life. And so my 4th night was with Taito Juanito, and he's a very powerful shaman. And
you did it with Taito.
Yeah. And so I made the mistake of going into it. I'm leaning against the wall and feet against the wall, and I could look out at the stars, and the stars are amazing in Costa Rica. I've always been interested in like outer space and UFOs and other dimensions, stuff like that. Just always loved that stuff. And so I'm looking at the stars, and I think to myself, man, well, that would be cool. It sure would be cool to get beamed up by a UFO. That was a bad thing to say. Don't ever say that. Because boy, on Yahe night, and this medicine was so powerful that night. Mm-hmm. It was so much different than my last week. I had 1 cup, and dude, I'll tell the whole story one day. You need to stick to your intentions that maybe they give you. Don't make your own intentions up because they showed up and I was not happy to see them.
Did you get beamed up, Scotty?
Oh, 100%. I'm laying there on the bed and all of a sudden, I literally made that my intention. I sure would like to get beamed up. So with Taita, our ceremony, they serve the first cup. Everybody goes and lays down, and it's about, man, they make you lay there for about 2 hours in silence. And dude, we may have been there for 30 minutes or something like that. And all of a sudden, I start hearing like a trillion metal bees in my head. It's just like the biggest buzzing sound you could ever imagine. And I'm like, I close my eyes and boom, I'm just exiting my body and I'm going through all of these green and red geometry. And I'm like, oh shit, this is weird. And I'm just keep going. And I'm just leaving. I'm blasting off and I'm going to this light and it's getting brighter and it's pulsating. It was like a mind of energy that you're just looking at. And oh, this is everything there is in the universe is smashed into this one ball of energy. And I'm going to it. And you've heard the stories, don't go to the light. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, I'm dying. I felt like I was, no, I thought I was dying. And then in my mind, I freak out and I'm like, I don't want to die. I like living. I don't want to die. I have 2 kids. No, it's wild, buddy. And so I'm like, I want to be with my kids. I don't want to die. And all of a sudden it hit me. You've definitely heard the term, remember your breath. And I remember Johnny Messner. Johnny's awesome. On the van ride into Costa Rica, I just happened to pair up with him in the van there. And I was like, you got any advice for me? He said, if shit gets too wild, remember your breath. And so I just started sucking air, and all of a sudden, all I could feel was my right hand and I'm hanging on to the mattress. Like, oh shit, I could feel myself. I'm still here. And wham, I come right back to my body and boom. I'm like, but I'm just full blown in the medicine. Like it's wild. And then it gets wilder, but it's still totally silent. They haven't even started the ceremony. And they say, if you need help from one of the shamans, just raise your hand. So I raise my hand and I'm sitting there, but I shouldn't be this far gone already. They're not really looking around too much. So I raise this hand and I'm sitting there for what seems like an eternity and it's dead silent. And I just scream out, I need help as loud as I can because I was just gone. And they all run over to me and they're like, what's going on, brother? And I'm like, apparently my buddy Trey next to me tells me, I don't even remember this, but I guess I said, I'm in it. And they freaking yanked my ass outside and took me into the yard. And it got wilder and wilder. And this story could go on, but I'm gonna cut it short. But
I can get where when you have to go outside and you're out to the yard, you're out to the yard for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had the whole crew around me and they were like, here he goes.
Also because you're a big guy too, bro. You're a big guy.
Yeah.
So, oh Lord, did you get the chains? No, it's not that bad. But
it was wild, man. Because in one, I'm like in split dimensions. In one dimension, I'm sitting on the grass with my puke bucket and everything's fine and just sitting there. And then another dimension that I can hear and see at the same time. It's like the shaman. It's so freaking wild, man. They're spraying me and praying for me and doing all these crazy blessings. And I will say that was the most transformational night of my life. It went on and on, but you've definitely heard the term, you were born again. That night I was definitely born again, but
I could feel it.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so
and looking at you glow and your energy while you're telling that story, man, you're lighting up, brother.
I need to tell that story more often because it's easy to forget. Like being in Costa Rica, I would say you're probably able to stay in that kind of healing. Maybe it seems like that's a better place. Oop, there you go. There you go. Nice. I need one of those behind me.
I'll send you one of them.
Dude, I would love it. But yeah, so I went back and different experience, but equally as powerful. How did you get signed up? Had you heard about it before?
I had heard about it. Yes, of course. And I had been researching plant-based medicine. I actually joined an Indian nation in Kentucky simply because they were promoting that or saying that they used ayahuasca in ceremony. I never ended up going there with them, but then of course found our spot and yeah, just went all in and can't really talk about too much of how I got there.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking thankful. So it changed my life. And my whole reason for wanting to go, it all goes back to wanting to help others with PTSD. And I want to touch on that with you and ask you a question here in a second. I wanted to heal myself so I could help heal others.
Yep.
So that's what ultimately led me to plant-based medicine and mother ayahuasca. So let me ask you this. I feel like personally going through, because we did the medicine, 4 times, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
Monday was the introduction to it. Tuesday was the celebration of the divine masculine.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday was the ceremony of the divine feminine. And that's so freaking beautiful. I danced for hours. And then Thursday night was Yahe. Yes, you're right. Yahe is so much stronger than all the other nights and thicker. Like when we were doing medicine, the regular ayahuasca is like, but then you get the Yahe night, you're like, But I really feel like after going through all 4 of those and with the Friday and the Saturday that we spent there together, I'm not saying it healed my PTSD because those memories are always going to be there. But I realize now that they're memories, and I asked for forgiveness and I forgave also. So I feel like it has healed me inside, but it has also opened me up to now I think about who was those 10 missiles that I loaded on that Cobra helicopter. Yeah. I wonder if those people are alive. And it's made me think about just flip everything around because nobody wants to go to war. Nobody is born, I want to go to war. No. And that's a whole nother podcast you could probably do. But I feel internally that yes, I have been healed and forgiven, and now I am looking at their side of it. But overall, I feel much better after going through that with you at our spot, healed from that, but the memory's still there. What about you? You've been there 3 trips now.
Yeah, 100%. So I went into it with a ton of PTSD. Over the years, I've learned to deal with it or self-medicate or whatever. Probably one of the worst experiences of my life was as a reserve deputy was going to a call for boy not breathing. He was 2 years old. I share the same birth date with him. He was the exact same age as my son, which by 1 day. So my son was born on June 6th. I was born on June 7th. This guy was same age as my son, but born on my birthday and not breathing, run in there. I do CPR on him. Mom's obviously, there's a baby the same age as my newborn baby in the swing. It's like I'm walking into my own family. And unfortunately, we tried and we couldn't save this little guy. He was already gone, but that just destroyed me. So I would say between the military, yeah, there's definitely some PTSD there, but it's just a different type of trauma. And poor law enforcement and first responders, man, those guys go through it. Yes, the military, we go through it, and some guys see some terrible stuff, but law enforcement, man, they're dealing with horrific stuff all the time. And first responders daily, they're just over for 20 years, man, these poor guys. And those are the guys, man, they need some help. But to get to your question, yeah, almost every one of those experiences from PTSD that I had and the traumas that I was carrying around, I worked through them during those nights. And yes, I know those things happened, but now I realize like, yeah, those happened. They weren't good. They affected me, but that's not who I am. those are just experiences you have. You don't have to carry that stuff with you for the rest of your life. And terrible, unfortunate things happen, but you can't spend the rest of your life just living in that sadness. It's not, I believe in God and a higher power, and things come into your life and things happen in your life for a reason. And we don't really understand what those reasons are. When I showed up to our spot, it was very odd because my birthday is June 7th and that little boy's birthday was 6/7. And the room I get assigned to, 67.
What?
I swear.
Bro.
It gives me chills. When you decide to go do ayahuasca, things start happening in your life and you're like, wait, where did this come from? So both times, and all of a sudden things just, you're going to get the healing you need. I promise you, whether it's right away or later on.
That's right.
Yeah, just so many things start happening. I believe ayahuasca and plant medicine is put here to help people by God or a higher power or whatever you believe in, spirit. I believe that, unfortunately, our society has gotten away from the traditional plant medicines that are here to help us.
Yes. And that's another reason of me wanting to, it's just one part of why I want to be in Costa Rica, because it's very easy to find someone here. For instance, I wasn't feeling very well last week and had a headache and a little bit of nausea. And a friend of mine literally walks out into their yard, picked this stuff, and it's some type of thistle, and brought it over here, channel, made me a tea out of it, drank it, and 30 minutes later, man, I was golden.
Oh.
And right out of the yard, out of the yard. And you're right. I firmly believe plant-based medicine and in all its glory, in all of its forms. There's more than just ayahuasca. There's all kinds of plant-based medicine are here for us. And it makes you think, and if you're a critical thinker, and I know you are, but talking about society now, that they just sat back and thought before Western medicine came about, how did our ancestors survive, man?
Yep.
How obviously they survived because we're here.
Yep.
So obviously they made it, and they made it. Plant-based medicine was the medicine, and it wasn't like now, let me run to the doctor, and you forget about all this, where this is where you should be in the first place. I'm a big time believer in plant-based and healthy wool.
Me and you have linked up. We're planning to do a week-long retreat for these guys at our spot. We'll let you know where that is soon. I just believe that there's so many guys out there who need help. And if you've been thinking about trying alternative, if you've tried everything and nothing is working for you, please give ayahuasca or some of these other plant medicines a shot, because you will not be disappointed. I promise you.
Absolutely.
There is help out there for people. So we're going to be setting something up. I'm so excited to spread this message to other people. It really is my life's goal to help.
And if I can ask you something, and you're in the States, this hit me actually last weekend. A friend of mine got a hold of me and said they're in Florida and they're going to do ayahuasca that weekend. I'm like, where are you going? You going to Costa Rica, Colombia, Peru? I'm thinking that's what they're going to tell me. And, oh no, I'm going right down the street. It brings me to, is it even real ayahuasca? It's illegal in the States. Well, illegal unless you're licensed, of course.
Yeah.
So how?
So I live in Southern Oregon. There's actually a church here. I should say church, but that's what they're classified as. And they are legally allowed to have ayahuasca ceremonies. I don't know if they're allowed to charge for it, but maybe you make a donation to the church to be able to do it. And I do know, I've heard of places in Oregon and Idaho that are working on, or they have ceremonies. Me personally, going to a licensed, medically reputable place is the way you should approach this, at least initially, because you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And this is some powerful stuff. It can be, you need people around you
Exactly. And I think and that is how I responded to her about that. And I didn't know about the ones in the States because the Indian tribe I joined in Kentucky a long time ago was promoting it. But like what you just said, when you initially do ayahuasca, and I think it's very important what you said, initially do it the very first time. It's good to have the structure and light workers around you where you're in a safe environment and it's an actually licensed medical facility. It made me feel good about it. And to know that there's 200 actual employees there and a full medical staff and anything that you may need during your ceremonies or that may happen or could possibly happen, it takes that worry away. And I personally could not imagine being like in the jungle of Peru for my person. There's no fucking way I could do that, dude. And the first time I saw a real snake, not named Smokey, another one across the ground. I think it's very important, the structure of the system when you're doing ayahuasca, because those meetings before and the meetings after it for that whole week was such a key part of it. And being able to trust the shaman, I guess is what I'm saying. And that was her biggest fear. She conveyed to me was I don't even know if this person like a real shaman. But you don't know, then I told her, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You're putting your trust into someone you don't know. And there's a difference in being at a licensed place, putting your trust in someone you don't know, because I didn't know them at all. And being in Florida, doing it with somebody, it's a big difference. So I just wanted to throw that out there. You have a very deep one. But yes, I'm excited about what we're doing and look at the first responders, man, with that, not just.
Absolutely. I agree. Yep. And so do you have, besides that, any plans to go have another experience?
I'm trying to go back for a shadow week there to be a light worker.
Nice. That place is incredible, and they're definitely helping people out. And that I definitely need a yearly dose, if not every 6 months, because being in the States, it's so easy to just get back into life. And it's not like you're not in real life, but it's so easy to forget the bigger picture when you get back in the States and you're just running around working and doing everyday normal things. A little dose every 6 months to a year, I think, is good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree with you for sure. It's life changing every time, every dose, every ceremony. It's life changing. For the good.
Yes.
It may be bad when you're going through it, but for the good.
Yes. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate the time. And if you have any advice you'd like to give to people if they're thinking about going down this route or moving to Costa Rica, anything you want to add?
Go with where your heart tells you to go. But advice for ayahuasca, or just advice for people hurting, research it or researching licensed facility. And ayahuasca, like you said prior, it's of the earth. And we are of the earth. Let that fear be gone. The teachers there at our spot, each person has their own prescription. When you drink that medicine, that prescription is just for you and not the next person. Whatever is going on inside of us that we need to grow from, learn from, love from, forgive, it's all going to happen, and it happens on plant-based ayahuasca.
Awesome. Montie, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure we'll do another one after we can talk about what's happening. Sorry to everybody that we had to keep it on the down low, but there's some big things happening for Montie. So we appreciate
good things happening for everybody. Thanks for having me, brother. Peace, love, and happiness.
Right back at you. Have a great day. See ya.
See you, brother.